Okay, so thanks to Robin at Modern Films, I was able to check out a early screening of The Return. This is the new film from Uberto Pasolini. Uberto co-wrote the film with Edward Bond and John Collee. It is produced by James Clayton, Paolo Del Brocco, Constantinos Kontravakis, Roberto Cesar, and Uberto Pasolini. It is executive produced by Nicholas Sandler, Kent Sanderson, Torsten Poeck, Keith Keogh, Andrew Carpen, Gregorius Carnavas, and Ralph Fiennes. It is co-produced by Vivian Aslanian, Cherry Hughes, Romain Lagrande, Stefan Moatti, Marco Paccioni. It is associate produced by Linda Vianello, Locasti Tamandi, Ciendalina Ponti, Christina Liappi, Miranda King, and Shiari Grassi. Okay, so Rachel Portman took care of the music. Marius Panduro is on cinematography. It's all edited by David Sharap. Right. Sophia Demopoulou, Susie Figgis, Kirsty Kinnear, and Alessandro Laferredi took care of casting. Giuliano Panuti is production design. Demetrius Zikas is art direction. Set decoration, we have Francesca Bottaro and Matteo Matti. Sergio Balu is costume design. And our incredible cast, right? So we have got Ralph Fiennes as Odysseus. Penelope, his beleaguered wife, is played by Juliette Binoche. Their son, Telemachus, is played by Charlie Plummer. We have Immias, played by Claudio Santamaria. There's Antonius, played by Marwan Kenzari. Polbus, played by Chris Corrigan. Melanamphius, played by Roberto Serpi. Doletius, played by Maxim Golozzi. Asterus, played by Wal Habib. Sepetipus, played by Paolo Di Candia. Amphanidion, played by Francesco Dwight Binasci. Eurymachus, played by Jamie Andrew Cutler. Eurydamas, played by Cosmo Desi. Uranius, played by Alberto Bobacar Malacano. Elenus, played by Nicholas Retrivi. Melantho, played by Magia Sibberfeld. Ursalia, played by Angela Molina. Lorette's nurse, played by Every Sophonidio. Astrius, played by Caradish Hain. Yeah, I think that's the main lot. There's a load of people. There's a load of people, you know what I mean? The gist of the story. Okay, so after 20 years, Odysseus finally returns to Ithaca, where he finds his wife held prisoner by suitors vying to be king and his son facing death at their hands. To win back his family and all he has lost, Odysseus must rediscover his strength. Whoa. Okay, so the Iliad is one of my favorite stories. I love this story so much, right? Because it's there's so many parts to it, and there's been so many different retellings just in book form. There's just so many different adaptations, like you had as a kid, right? Ulysses 31, which was, a sci-fi futuristic, but which was fantastic, right? Recently there was Troy, Oh Brother Where Art Thou? There's just been a lot of people trying to tell this story. So it's one of those ones where you're just like, man, this needs to be good, right? This needs to be good. So yeah, I was definitely worried. I mean, when you saw the talent involved, it was just like, okay, I feel this will be good, right? But you can never be sure. You can never be sure with these things. But this was so friggin' good, right? They really did a magnificent job. But here's the thing. I don't know if this is going to be a hit. I don't know if it's going to be a hit, which is a shame because it looked incredible, right? The acting was magnificent, right? The score, the sound, all of that worked so well. But this was a sedated version, kind of, right? Like when you think of Troy, it was big, it was brash, it was shiny, right? Like this, although made by a big studio and everything like that, it wasn't your typical Hollywood film, right? So it feels more subdued, right? It looks more subdued, but it should do. Like, that's the thing, it should do. There's not wall-to-wall action, And so some people might be like, oh, so much talking. There was so much, pondering and reflection and meditation and bah. You know, we just wanted all the violence. Where were the gods? Where were the, you know, all the mythical creatures? But this is the return, right? And when you, like, I love the beginning, right? Like the war, you know, just everything that goes down there, you know, Helen, Achilles, just all of that. And then when, you know, they get on the boats, right? They piss off the gods, they get on the boats, and then, you know, landing with the sirens and the cyclops and just all of that part of the story is fantastic. But, you know, when he actually gets home, that is more a human piece. And that's what was done so well here. So well, right? This was a film that really showed the aftermath of war, right? It showed the consequences, right? What the fallout is for the people left behind, right? The people that have to wonder what happened to their loved ones, you know, the weight that is upon their shoulders. Like what happens to, you know, the infrastructure of anything that you had built, you know? For Odysseus, it was the kingdom, right? Because you just think, you send a king off and all of the best warriors, who's keeping order now? Who's keeping order, right? Now, you are right for invasion from someone else, but just, you know, it just so happens that everyone sent their best people, you know, to Troy. So, you know, it wasn't that, but you still have the degenerates, the locusts, right? The scavengers who are there festering on, you know, what you have done, right? And so you just have Penelope and Telemachus, and you know, we know back then, hey, you know, there was the queens and all of this, but you know, women were looked at as a certain thing, right? So they didn't, trying to hold that power, that's a tough ask, right? And so we saw all of that. And it was, you know, these performances were incredible, right? You could see the weight on everyone's shoulders. You know, the torment, the hardship, the guilt, all of that was, you know? And then you've got people like, what's Homie's name? Antonius? I think it's Antonius. Who that's how you pronounce the fucking name? Just all these names are so freaking hard. So hard. Yes, Antonius. Like, his character is so duplicitous, right? So he's, you know, in one vein, I'll look after your son. Oh, I just want, you know, the others, let's put together a hunting party, right? So, you know, he had to, Marwan had to show all of that. And he really did. He really did. But you also did believe that he did actually love Penelope in his own twisted way. Right? So this isn't black and white. There's so many sides to it. You know, even though, I say it's not black and white. I mean, there are these people that are just pieces of shit. But in their heads, right, some of them have different motivations, you know, although it is all boils down to the same thing, but they believe something, right? And we see that. Oh, we see that. You know, I think you see the wear and tear on people. A lot of times with these films, right, they pay all this money for big stars, so they want them to look a certain way. But here, you see them looking haggard, right, beleaguered, remorseful, just all of that. We see that. Odysseus is just full of shame and grief. Right, Telemachus. It's a crazy one for him because he loved his dad, but he hates his dad for leaving. Right, he hates all. He tries to blame his dad for all of this, but he also blames himself for not being able to properly protect his mother and their land. Right, so you see all of that. Right, we see Penelope, and it's an interesting one, Penelope, because we know the story, right? She's trying to hold off a wedding, so she's I'm making a shroud, right? I'm making a wedding shawl. Like, what's the word for the thing? Wedding shawl, right? So there's these excuses, and that night she's undoing the weave. But she's also having to cajole these people. And so there is that kind of like, how is she doing this? Right? And there is, there's definitely this one scene that indicates that possibly, other things were going on. Now, it's to what degree of those things, like, you might remember there's that part in June where the Empress's daughter, my days, I cannot for the life of me, Florence Pugh's character, right? And she's trying to get information out of Fade Harkonnen. Fade? Oh god, the Austin Butler one, right? And he wants to sleep with her, and instead she passes her maid, to do the deed. And that could be a similar thing for Penelope, right? Like she's trying to stay true to it. It is, and so her maids do the deeds. And we see indications of that, right? But it's just, there are these undercurrents here, right? Like the people, what kind of reception would the people going to give Odysseus? Because they loved their king, right? So it's so fascinating, right? The thing that was really good, I say, right, I say it's really good. Like some of the suitors, they're walking around like they own the land, and they see this girl, and obviously they want to rape the girl. She manages to hide, and there's this boy there, and he's just like, oh, she's gone, I don't know where she's gone. And they're like, well, we didn't come this way for nothing, so it's either her or you. And that's what it was, right? It's one of those things. It's funny, right? Like you had this period where everyone was messing with each other regardless of gender, and then suddenly it was just like, oh no, we hate these people. You know what I mean? It's a weird, but that was going on. And in Troy, they didn't want to kind of show that Achilles loved boys as well as girls, right? But in this one, it was just like, this was just what it was. Boys, girls, it didn't really matter. These people were just looking to subdue, right? And so we saw all of that. It was a really great use of light in this film. you know, like walking down a dark corridor, and you've got the sun coming through the window, so these patches of light and everything. Right, there's a bit when Penelope's in a room at her what do you call a weaving station? A kiln? No, that's a pottery thing, isn't it? Well, she's at the weavy thing, right? And her maid is at the back. So we know other people are in this room, but our focus is on Penelope. So she's in focus, everyone else isn't. And it's these kind of little touches that really bring you into the emotion of the scene, right? The hardship, the weight of what is going on. So we have that, and then just like the score works perfectly, but it's not just the score, right? It's the nature sounds, right? The sounds of the water, the wind, just all of that is there. Like, you know, the sound of grass, like you walking along like the dirt track, just all of these noises bring everything to life. They really do. I really, really enjoyed this film, people. I really did. You know, I thought that it was paced well. You know, it's just under 2 hours, but it didn't feel long. You know, it didn't feel long at all. You know, it was just, and the ending, it wasn't this perfect ending. It was this like, you know, it's kind of like Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, right? Where they realize that they've done this thing thousands and thousands, well, not thousands of times. They've done it numerous times, right? But it was just like, they still wanted to cling on to the hope that love is possible. And we have a kind of a similar thing here, right? It's not this perfect ending, but it is this thought that, you know, things have happened, right? But these were things that had to be done to survive. So let's see if we can navigate and move forward, which was just perfect, right? Like, you strip away the magic, the mythology, the gods, and it's a very human story. And as I said, the end is especially, and that's what the return is, right? It is this human piece that works because of the performances, the script, the lighting, the sound, the edit, just all of these things come together to make this magnificent, right? Like, this could have been dour and drab, but it was not, people. It was not. So, I mean, you know, you could say I'm biased because as I said, I love the Iliad. But also, that means I'm mad picky, right? Because I've watched and read some adaptations that did not cut the mustard. But this was fantastic. I didn't like Troy, but I loved this. You know? Now, don't get it twisted. It's not like Gladiator, right? The first one. You know, there's a lot of fighting and these huge speeches and it's rousing. It's not that. It's the kind of opposite to that, but not in a bad way, right? So if you love a character piece, if you love something driven by tremendous performances and production, then the return will work for you. If, like me, you love the Iliad, I think the return will work for you. If you like Ralph Fiennes, Juliette Binoche, Charles Plummer, and everyone else involved, then this will be for you. All right, so The Return hits cinemas this Friday, and I hope you enjoy it, right? Let me know what you think, people. Did you enjoy it as much as me? You know what I mean? So yeah, The Return.